And we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Blue Collar Game Day. I, of course, am your host, Steve, the General Reisner. With me today for the first time ever is Deal Gribble. I have brought someone from Packers Nation on. I don't guess it's weird, a Packers fan, a Patriots fan getting along. Um, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Ready to talk about the upcoming slate. Not too many exciting games, but we've got a couple good ones.
Yeah, I kind of just looking at the slate right now while we're kind of wish I'd picked a better week to have you on with better games going on, but well, it's not like it will
No
be your
worries.
last show anyway.
Yep, happy to come back.
Um, so we'll jump into Thursday night, which is a pretty good game. A game that Chargers probably should have won, but I did not expect them to win. It,
Isn't that the case with every time the Chargers play a football game?
yes, exactly. Like I watching that game as soon as I'm like the Chargers got to lead here. I'm like, yeah, they're gonna lose this. They're gonna blow this. It's the Chargers. They blow games.
Yep, it's in their DNA. It's what they do, and specifically against the Kansas City Chiefs, who are famous for no lead is ever safe against them. So when you mix those two, you kind of just figure out the outcome.
Um, that 99-yard pick six was that's like such a Charger way to lose. Now that on that play, you had Everett wanted to check out, come out of the game.
Yeah.
They go in a no huddle and don't let him come out, and then they target that player, and he doesn't have enough effort to go after the ball, and it ends up being a 99-yard pick six, which is the deciding play of the game, really.
Yeah, it's you can't go after him immediately after he's asking for a sub, but at the same time you can't go out and run a half-ass route, knowing you're probably. It was clear that he was the first option, he was the first read on that play, so
Yes.
you can't come out and run some half-ass route like that. And Herbert's got to put a better ball outside rather than on the inside. I just think that whole play was a mess from start to finish. I wouldn't have gone hurry up there either. That was just it
Yeah,
was just a nightmare.
I've seen people. Yeah, I've seen people putting it like all on the coaching, and the hurry up seemed like a weird decision for me there. If you got a player asking to come out, saying he wants to come out of the game, which when you're at the goal line, I got to say it's a little weird. For like you just got the play down there. Maybe you're tired, but like I feel like players usually push through that. If you got that player who wants to come out of the game, you can't call a play in hurry up designed for him.
Right.
Like that's on the play call, and it is at the same time it's on Everett because he can't half-ass his route, and he's got to get after that ball more. And like you said, Herbert's got to place that throw a little better, which it's that's on. You got blame in three places there.
Yeah, it's an equal share of the blame all the way around. That's I just that's why I don't necessarily feel bad for the Chargers after that one.
No,
Another play that bothered me in that game was the last play of the game for the Chargers on that fourth down where they tried to force feed Mike Williams into triple coverage. I don't know who it was breaking open outside, but they running that mesh route with Williams and 86, 86, I believe his number was, and he was just butt naked ass open waiting for the ball, but it was clear they were only going to one guy and one guy only. Kansas City knew that, and you chose to not make him pay.
yeah, that's something that I don't put the blame on Justin Herbert for that. That's on coaching, probably, to me, when you have a young quarterback. They're like, yeah, we're designing this one for Mike Williams. Like,
Yeah, it's going to
I mean,
Mike and Mike only.
yeah, like Herbert's still going to look, though. He's still got to see the rest of the field. No matter what, no matter if you're designing the play for one guy or not, you have to see the entire field. I also don't like the decision to put him back in.
I think, man, that's tough because if they knew if he felt like he could take the pain, that typically is what comes down to rib injuries, is if they can take the pain. So if he could take the pain, I understand why they would let him go back in there. But you can't let him keep getting hit. They were still letting him, go
that
deep dropbacks with that shit offensive line that got him hurt in the first place.
when he first went back in, I'm like, okay, fine. Like you said, this is probably the player saying to them, I can take this. Let me go out and do it. Then he kept getting hit after that, and I'm like, okay, now you got to take him out of the game.
Yeah.
If you're not going to protect, if you're going to put him back in and not protect him, take him out.
Yeah,
But
it was. You had
it's
the
your
first hit
franchise.
from Dana, and then you had him immediately get hit again after he comes back in. It was just a bad recipe from the jump.
Yeah. Um. For the Chiefs side of this, I like what I've seen a lot both weeks out of Kansas City.
That's a good football team.
I am not a Kansas City fan by any means, obviously.
Oh, I'm from Kansas City. They didn't have any fans until 2013. I will not acknowledge the fan base as a whole.
Yeah,
But
and
that is a
they
good football team.
both 2018 too. Like there are some good ones. There are some good ones who probably watch this show that I talk to. Not hating on all Kansas City fans. Um, I really like what I saw from Kansas City both weeks. I mean, honestly, they just beat the shit out of Arizona week one. That wasn't
Yeah,
even really a competition.
it's I think their defense has given them a lot of excitement as well, even more so than
Absolutely,
their offense functioning without Tyreek Hill. But I would say that their defense has been really impressive, and considering how young they are, if they can continue to grow, that's going to be a very, very tough out, as if it wasn't already come January.
yeah, absolutely. That defense has looked better, and you know who, like, surprisingly to me, has looked very good. Very well, not very good. He looked very good on Thursday. Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
He's been very good. That line has run blocked much better than they have in years past. He's getting a lot bigger holes. They're using him a little bit more effectively um, than they used to. They started running a little bit more zone scheme uh, running plays than they used to. They iced the game on an outside zone run, which I hadn't seen Kansas City run in a long time.
It's insane to see Kansas actually see an Andy Reid offense ice a game, run on the ball.
Right.
Um, and he had that catch and run there where he broke away from the tackle. That's something that Kansas City's been dying to see out of Edwards-Helaire since they drafted him.
They've been waiting on him, and it took until a sixth round rookie was on the verge of taking his job.
Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco right on his trail.
Yeah.
But yeah, good Thursday night game. For the Chargers, I mean, they loaded up this year. I don't think they're winning this division, and you got to. There's one of the things to me with this division this year. All of those teams loaded up on talent. Not all of them can make the playoffs. Of course, there's a car alarm going off next door.
Yeah,
Um,
that's something that I've stood by kind of all off season is it's Kansas City's division until proven otherwise. They've been sitting on top of the mountain for 6 years now, and I'm just supposed to believe that everyone makes a couple changes and they're gonna threaten Kansas City. Well, you got to go out and prove it. The Chargers didn't prove it. The Broncos just lost to the Seahawks, and the Raiders' offensive line looks like an absolute disaster. So someone's got to go out and prove it. Someone's got to go out and beat Kansas City and show us why we should be, some of us should be putting our money on other teams. But until then, I'm going to take the plus money preseason with Kansas City winning the division all day long.
yeah, as am I. And like one of my things that you can make all these moves in the off season, these big name moves like the Raiders, you bring in Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones. The Chargers, you bring in Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson. The Broncos, Russell Wilson, Randy Gregory. It's all about how they actually gel with the team. You can't just go. It's not the game isn't played on paper.
Right.
These players got to come in and work with the rest of the team, work with everyone else there, fit into their role that they designed to do, and it doesn't always work. And like, for one of these teams, probably not going to work. And you know what? I love J.C. Jackson when he was in New England.
He looked
I
bad on Thursday. He looked bad on Thursday.
I knew he was not worth the money that the Chargers gave him, and when I saw that that's what he got paid for, that's what he got paid. I'm like, okay, fine. With he wants to go get his money, he can go get his money. I did not want to pay J.C. Jackson that kind of money because I think he's a good corner. He's not
He's a
that.
good corner. He's not the best corner in the league.
Yeah. Which Kirk Herbstreit called him several times the other night. The top corner in the entire NFL. I'm like, what? Since when?
Kirk's new to the professional side of things, so cut him a little bit of slack.
Yeah, I'll cut him a little slack because he's probably like catching up on who's. And this isn't offense from him. He's probably catching up on who a lot of the NFL
Yeah.
guys are because he's from the college side. So he's going off like name and contract, like probably a lot of it.
He's just reading the spreadsheet, man.
Yeah, he's reading names, being like, I've heard good stuff about this guy.
Yeah.
So let's go move on to the rest of the week here, which, as we talked about, is not a great slate at all for games. We got start us off the Jets and Jacoby Brissett's Browns at 1 o'clock. Cleveland's favored by 6.5. Everyone knows I'm picking Cleveland. Sure, you're picking Cleveland.
Yeah,
Cleveland's winning
that game, but do you mind if we throw a little bit of spread info on there too?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think New York will cover the 6.5. I don't trust that Cleveland team to beat anybody by a touchdown yet, but I think Cleveland's going to win the game.
That's I can see that. I mean Cleveland. I just see them running down the fucking Jets' throats all day with Chubb and Hunt.
Right.
So if they don't cover, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't cover 6.5 because that's what they're gonna do. That's what they're gonna do until Deshaun Watson is playing again.
And they got a favorable schedule now that they won that week 1 game. That was huge for them. And if they start off 2-0, you're sitting pretty good.
You're sitting at a very good start for a team without quarterback. Which I'm gonna say I'm not sold that he's gonna be lights out when he comes back. He hasn't played football in what's it gonna be 2.5 years when
he hasn't played football in a long time. He hasn't played in a long time, and they don't necessarily have too many exciting weapons outside of their backfield, and what's left of Amari Cooper. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's a very talented player, Deshaun, but you haven't played football in that long. It's it's not easy to just step into quarterbacking in an
Right.
NFL team. It's game speed is, and I mean, not for nothing. He's suspended. He's not even with the team. He's not even game planning with them. He's not learning the playbook. It's
Oh, he's
all
completely out of the building. Yeah.
yeah. So next game up, the worst name in football, the Washington Commanders, should have just stuck his football team. I am
There'll
going to
always
say
be
this.
the football team.
I'm just going to say this for 17 fucking weeks this season. You should have stuck with the football team instead of going to Commanders. Versus the Lions, that spread is even. I, I'm going Lions here,
It's
which is
it's yeah, it's the first time that they've been favored. Well, I guess they're not favored anymore. They're minus 105 with Washington. I guess it might depend on where you're at, but it's probably the first time they've even been a pick 'em in what they say. It was like 18 games or something crazy like that. It was wild, but I'll roll with the Lions. I think that they can pull this out. They dropped 35 on Philly last week. That was impressive in itself, but uh why not? We'll just go with the Lions. I trust I trust Jared Goff more than I trust Carson Wentz, and
that's
this is a debate that's going to be going on forever since they've been coming out of college, right?
yeah. I that's kind of where I lean. Is I trust Jared Goff more than I trust Carson Wentz, and I trust DeAndre Swift. And you know what? Dan Campbell. I gotta keep giving this guy credit as much as it annoys me. I thought this guy was a clown when he got hired, and he's a little bit of a clown. Like this whole but the one thing he promised about that team when he took the job was they were going to play hard for 48 minutes.
And he gets
So
it
the
out of
only
them.
thing he promised, we're going to play hard. They have played hard in every game. They've played a good 60 minutes of football every time. They
He
play
gets
hard.
everything out of all 48 guys activated on game day. He gets
Yep.
everything out of each and every single guy. And the thing that I like most about him is he gives a shit. He gives a shit about every single person in that locker room, and everyone in there feels it. You can tell from Hard Knocks whatever he's had going on for the last year and a half now since he's been in charge of the Lions. It hasn't just been a sham. It hasn't just been an act for the media and
Yeah,
writers alike. That's genuinely him. He's a little bit of a cornball, but it fucking works.
yeah, and that's my entire point. Is the one thing he promised was his team was gonna play hard. They were gonna play to the last whistle, and they fucking do. He didn't come out and say we're going to the playoffs. He didn't come out and say my offense is going to put up all these points. He didn't come out and say I'm going to have the best defense. So we're going to play fucking hard.
So we're gonna go out there. We're gonna work harder than the guys in front of us.
Yep. And they fucking do. And eventually, I'm gonna give the credit where credit's due. Maybe eventually with the Lions, maybe they get some talent there, and maybe that ends up working out. Like, because he obviously gets these guys to respond to him.
Yeah. Yep.
I won't keep shitting on this guy. I will make fun of him when he sounds like a little bit of a cornball because he he does sound like a little bit of a cornball half the time. But
Yeah. Yeah.
he's
He's definitely a little crazy, but I mean it works. In the NFL, if you want to flip the script, specifically in a city like Detroit where they've been so bad for so long, you got to be different.
yeah, and you know what that type of team that just fight to the end. That's fucking a perfect team for Detroit.
Yeah,
Like
that's an
it
easy
fits.
team for that city to rally around.
Yeah, it's perfect. So next game, the Bucks and the Saints. Tampa's favored by 2.5 here.
Give me the Saints all day.
I want to lean Tampa, but I think I got to take the Saints. This is the year in Tampa that I think it bottoms out. I think I
That offense is starting to fall apart piece by piece, whether it's by injury or guys getting up there in age or them cutting the wrong players. I'm looking at Tyler Johnson. I can't believe they let him go. But I I'm not high on the Buccaneers, but I mean you'll see me next week. I'll take the Bucks over the Packers, but uh, I mean, aren't they without? Are they without Chris Godwin this week? And Mike Evans is questionable. He's got a busted up hammy, right?
yeah, that's what's swinging it for me.
Who's
Is
getting the ball? And are they running on that Saints defense?
you're not running Leonard Fournette all day on that Saints defense like you did last week. Yeah,
They're not
what
going to do it.
Fournette last week was probably the reason that offense won the game. They had 100. He had 127 yards. You're not
Oh,
doing that. I think
both
that was what did.
offenses last week were terrible, and they were
Yeah,
incredibly fortunate. Dak got knocked out pretty early. Otherwise, that would have been a way more competitive game than they would have wanted it to be.
yeah. There's I don't know. I said it. I've been saying it, and I keep saying it. Tom Brady taking 2 weeks off in the middle of training camp. It's fucking weird. There's no way that it doesn't interrupt the rhythm of the team.
Yeah, that's something. So a lot of people like to drag Aaron Rodgers for not coming to OTAs and all that voluntary work, but when the season starts, he's locked in. You don't see any other quarterback disappearing from their team 2 weeks in the middle of training camp, in the heart of the summer in training camp. Tom's out doing God knows what. What did he do? Go get plastic surgery on his face or something?
Dude,
I don't know what he went and did. Maybe he did a ayahuasca trip, like he saw from Aaron Rodgers, and he plans on winning an MVP now.
I hate to have to question a guy like Tom Brady who really did so much for my. I'm wearing a fucking Tom Brady shirt right now. This is the vindicated once again shirt. Like, I'm a Tom Brady guy. So 2001 is that last drive, man, against the Rams. I fell in love with the game of football right there in that moment. But
it's just he's checked out, man. He should have just he retired and he come back, and it all just seems like what are we doing here? We're just hanging around. It's almost like when you have this is the best way that I can kind of put it is it's like when you have an old dog and it's been it's clearly not doing well, and it's time to put it down, but the whole family loves the dog so much that it hurts too bad. It's like Tom Brady's too scared to completely rip that scab off and just call it quits.
yeah, and
He's got to go, man.
he I think he knows he can still play. He can still play.
That's
I'm
it's
not.
just
I'm not.
the
I'm not
mental.
like his physical side of it. What he's
Right.
still capable of on a football field is absolutely fucking insane.
Right.
Insane. But I don't like you said, it's the mental. I don't know if he's 100% mentally there. In fact, by all accounts, I have no reason to believe that he is. Next, we got the Panthers and the Giants. I have the spread is even right here. I'm taking the Giants.
I'm taking the Giants, man.
I like the Brian Dable hiring initially for the Giants.
Sure.
One of my things on that was we have to give the coaching a little bit of credit for Josh Allen's turnaround in his career, right?
Oh, you don't draft a prospect that raw and that wildly out of control with his decision making, and then a couple of years later he's the front runner for an MVP candidate without great coaching. It takes great coaching to mold a player like that.
And Dable was the guy that I kind of looked at as the guy who probably deserved the credit in that
Definitely,
situation.
definitely the catalyst behind that development, if you ask me. I'm not in the building. I'm just on the
Yeah,
outside, but it seems like all signs point to him.
yeah, that's where I am on that. And they ran the ball well last week. The offense looked, I mean, not that they were all over the field, anything like that, but they looked more in sync than they have any of the fucking past few years.
Oh, it's just clear the coaching discrepancy is just significant. When you talk about what they've been dealing with and what they're working with now in Dayball, it's night and day. They have a competent coach with competent play calling. He clearly believes in his players, as you could see by them going for two for the win in a
Yep,
regular season game that matters, and they get it. And it feels like those guys are really rallying around the coach. The coach is rallying around his guys, and they have a really positive situation in New York for the first time since Tom Coughlin and Eli Manning.
yep, absolutely. And the Panthers didn't look too good.
You can't
Panthers
lose
looked
to
like
that Cleveland team. If you're going to be taken seriously, you can't lose to that Cleveland team. It took them way too long to get going. They let Cleveland come back and kick that bomb
mm-hmm.
for the game
And
winner. It's at Matt Rule's got to go, man. He can't get his guys ready. Those guys, I don't think those guys believe in him at all.
no,
He's one of those guys who's just made for college, and he's not even made for the big leagues in college. He's made to take a C program and turn it into a B program.
I thought he was a. I didn't know much about him when he was hired, and I thought he was kind of a weird hire when I looked into his career. Um, and I agree. I think this is it for Matt Rule this year in Carolina if he can't do something here. Um, so now my game of the week. Patriots Steelers. New England is up. The spread has changed. I got New England at 3-point favorites here in this game now.
Wow.
We talked about this before we went live. I had one at the start of the week, and then I had 1.5 a couple days later. I don't know what moved the spread to 3 points. I will take New England to win and cover. I'll take them to win by. I'm picking them to win the game. They didn't look great last week. Neither did the Steelers won, but Steelers offense did not look great at all.
Right. This is man, this is a it's a coin flip for me really. Being on the non-Patriots side of things here, I'm kind of looking at it like I think that both of these teams are going to combine for maybe 20 points. I think that they're going to just slug each other in the mouth for 60 minutes nonstop, and it's one of those things where I'm kind of going to defer to the home team, and I think I'll take Pittsburgh, but I don't feel great about it. That game could go either way, and I think for the sake of discourse, maybe on this program, I'll probably go with Pittsburgh so we can kind of talk about it.
Yeah, so I'm in the air myself. I'm not overly confident in the Patriots. Um, I watched both the game and the all 22 of both games. I'm sure you did too. Um, Mitch Trubisky, man, going against the Belichick defense. I gotta. I got to go Belichick in
Sure.
that situation. I give the edge to the Patriots. Patriots offense, Steelers defense. If TJ Watt was playing, I'm picking the Steelers.
Sure. I think someone who not a lot of people are talking about, and if he was a product of being on the other side of TJ Watt, we'll certainly find that out, or something. We'll get a better idea of that today. Is Alex Highsmith, the other edge rusher for the Steelers? He went for
Yeah,
3 sacks last week, and you still got Cam Hayward in the middle. I think those guys can do enough to impact a game, but like you said, TJ Watt's a huge loss, and we'll see exactly what that does to Pittsburgh's defense as a whole. Because I mean, obviously, I don't feel great about picking against Belichick, specifically against a guy like Mitch Trubisky, but I think Pittsburgh's offense has a little bit more playmakers. If this game was in New England, I'm taking the Patriots. But with this game being in Pittsburgh, it's going to
yeah.
be it's going to be a really rowdy environment, and I think the guys are going to be pretty comfortable.
So
I mean,
that actually is part of why I'm picking the Patriots, is because it's the Steelers, and it doesn't matter to me that it's in Pittsburgh.
okay,
That actually it helps that it's in Pittsburgh. The Patriots have a track record of this over the years, and I know it was a different quarterback. I know it was different teams, but it was the same coach. Is there have been times when they have let down games, and then all of a sudden they're going into Pittsburgh the next week, and everyone's like, "Man, I don't think they can beat Pittsburgh," and then they just like beat the shit out of them. Like sometimes Pittsburgh becomes Belichick's punching bag.
sure.
They do. That's Pittsburgh's a good team. Pittsburgh's had good teams, and I've seen Belichick just come in and just dismantle them. I don't think the Patriots' offense looked as bad last week as it's been made out to be. I don't think they look great. I think there are some obvious things that they need to fix, but I think there's been some very, very drastic overreactions to the Patriots last week.
My prediction for the score was mainly based on Pittsburgh's defense last week, more than
Yeah,
it was about New England's offense.
yeah, that I can understand that, because if you're going to have a bounce back game on offense, it's probably not going to be against Pittsburgh's defense. I'd like to see Trent Brown play better, and that's his performance last week didn't give me a lot of confidence, but that's why it was the TJ Watt being out that I'm like, okay, I hope they have enough there that they can, get around that.
Yeah, I think at the when it's all said and done, we're going to be looking at one or two plays that turned the tide of this game and ultimately
Absolutely.
decided it. Whether it's Trubisky throwing an interception, Trubisky fumbling, it's going to come down to one of the quarterbacks, whether or not they made a play or left a play.
And so one of my things that I always get, the coaching matters to me. I do give the coaching edge to Belichick here. I know this sounds a little biased.
Well, he's
Tomlin,
one of the few coaches you can give an edge over Tomlin to.
Yeah, Tomlin's a great coach. But now my theory on why Belichick has always been so good against Tomlin is I think that Tomlin game plans as well as any coach in the NFL before the game.
Sure.
I don't think he adjusts at halftime as well as some. And I think Belichick adjusts in game better than any coach in the league, and maybe better than any other coach in the history of the sport.
Belichick's got an answer for everything, unless there's something that you can't defend, i.e., speed. Like speed on the perimeter, just an insane amount of speed in the offense. You can't.
Yes.
You're just not going to defend that, and you have to let that beat itself, kind of thing. But there's not a lot of
sort of
speed
like
on the
what they
track
do
here
at
in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't see Pittsburgh's offense moving the ball as well as us as Miami's did, and Miami only scored 13 points. on
It was
offense.
a defensive touchdown. Yeah, it was a good. I I we can transition to Miami's game probably after this, but
Yeah, we might as well transition to Miami after
yeah,
this.
but so I'll take Pittsburgh. You'll take New England. That'll be fun. We'll probably get a little bit of back and forth going on Twitter and see how that game plays out. That's probably the game I'll be watching on the ticket today. Um, so we'll go to Miami, and a lot of people are thinking that this is an upset special that Miami's going to go. Is that game in Baltimore?
Um, yes,
A lot
I
of people
believe
think
it
the
is.
Dolphins are going to go into Baltimore and beat the Ravens. I think that's a crock of shit. I'll take the
There is
Ravens.
there is a lengthy injury report for um for Baltimore. I do have to say that
Do they have Lamar Jackson?
they have Lamar Jackson, but they
Do
are
they have Mark Andrews?
yes.
Give me the Ravens.
Ronnie Stanley being doubtful is the
And
one that impacts it to me a lot. That's
that's
a
a that's a guy that they've been without off and
yeah.
on for a long time. They're kind of they've kind of figured a way to survive uh without him. But what I'm thinking about on the other side is I don't think Tua is going to be able to go blow for blow with Lamar Jackson. I'm
No,
completely out on Tua. I know that the Dolphins won last weekend, but that was those two touchdowns were from their playmakers. Waddle took a slant 50 yards to the house.
and so this is he took a slant 50 yards to the house on a defensive breakdown where somebody got hurt on defense, which usually impacts a play. Um, on 4th and 7 with time running out in the half.
Yeah.
It Tua, he doesn't suck. Tua can't elevate that team. He can't like you're gonna get less out of Tyreek Hill than you ever do with Patrick Mahomes.
Right. Well, and if it
He had the
wasn't for Tyreek Hill, Tua's got an interception on the boundary.
uh, last week Tyreek Hill had like some of the quietest 100 yards I've ever seen a player have because he made a couple big plays. He didn't break that game. He didn't like truly
No, he's not
hurt
blowing
the
it wide
Patriots.
open with a 75-yard bomb.
Yeah, exactly. Um, the Dolphins front seven I thought looked good on defense.
That defense is good. The defense is
That
going to
that
be good.
and that's the one thing that had me on the fence. But Baltimore is no matter how good Baltimore's doing, Baltimore's a tough place to play.
Baltimore's going to stress you out. You go into Baltimore, and it's that I don't know if that Miami team's ready to compete and stay within three and a
Yeah,
half of the
and I
Ravens
mean you go
in
into
their own
Baltimore.
building.
Yeah, it's
That's
definitely not good. It's definitely not going to
going to
cover 3.5.
Baltimore for a young quarterback like Tua, who's had limited playing experience, and the rest of that team, which is relatively young. It's going to Baltimore is like a welcome to the fucking show moment. It's like these are
Yep.
the big boys. You're either gonna play with us or you're not.
Well, and it's also when Baltimore plays at home, it, it's weird to say this because I know the styles usually change with a coach, but Baltimore is one of those teams that when they play Baltimore Ravens football, kind of like when the Pittsburgh Steelers play Pittsburgh Steelers football, when the crowd's going to be in your face, the defense is going to hit you hard, and we're going to run the ball down you, and we're just going to fucking run at you on offense. It's hard to fucking beat.
Yeah,
And like you said, it's that for like you said, it's a great way to put it for a young team. That can be a fucking welcome to the show moment.
yeah.
You want to play with the big boys right now. You got the Baltimore Ravens predicted playoff team. You got Lamar Jackson playing for a contract.
Playing for a huge contract.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy one to beat. Go to the Colts and the Jaguars today. I don't know what to pick on this team on this game. I,
Like I told you pre-show, I'm taking the Jags until the wheels completely fall off, man. They were close in Washington. Um, they were close in Washington last week, and I think they pull this one out this week against the Colts, who looked abysmal against the Texans. Outside of Jonathan Taylor, I mean that team was bad last week, man, against the
I
Texans.
I watched the replay of that game and I'm like, because I didn't, I it was on at the same time as the Patriots, so I caught like the end of it and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, it was a mess.
So I watched the replay of it. I'm like, basically my takeaway of that game was that Indy tried to beat themselves for 3 quarters, and then Houston did beat themselves in the fourth
Right.
quarter. Like that's Indy was like it literally would like they were giving every opportunity to lose that game, like everything you could possibly do to lose a game. The
And they just
first three
happened to
quarters,
benefit from playing the worst team in the league.
yeah, and then Houston in the fourth quarter did everything you can possibly do to lose a game.
Yeah. Hey, the
um,
wheels just fell off. They got you up there for 3 quarters and couldn't hang on.
I fucking I'm gonna roll with you on the Jaguars one. Let's see how this one goes.
Yeah, we'll see
Let's
how it
get the
goes,
back.
man.
Because I'm not confident in Indy. I'm not confident in Jacksonville, but I
I
did
wouldn't
like.
feel great about either pick either way.
Yeah,
So let's have some fun and root for the dogs.
you know what? Yeah, I like that. I like that mentality. Um, okay, feel like this is an easy one here. The Rams and the Falcons. At 405, get a 10-point spread here. This is I don't like double-digit spreads.
It's very easy to be so low on the Rams after what happened opening week.
Yeah, but I
But
was gonna say I don't like double-digit spreads, but I don't like the Atlanta Falcons, and I don't like the Atlanta Falcons offensive line.
oh no, that I mean,
You know who I do like? Number 99 on the Rams.
yeah, give me the Rams by 14 in this one. I'll take the Rams by 14 and I'll feel good about it. If if
Yeah, that's
if the Falcons cover that spread or if the Falcons somehow win that game, it's officially time to panic on the Rams.
yeah.
But I think the Rams win this one comfortably.
They should cover this 10. I usually do not like double digit spreads, but they should cover this 10. I will take them to cover this 10. Um, okay, this game to me, I do not understand the spread in this. Niners and the Seahawks. San Fran is favored by 9 points, and I cannot understand it for the life of me.
9 points is a lot. I don't think
For a
anyone
team that
I
just
don't
lost to Chicago.
Here's the thing is I don't think that anybody learned anything from that week 1 game in Chicago. Did you see that field? They were playing in standing water in a monsoon. That's
Yeah,
I'm
that
not the highest on Trey Lance. You have to look better, especially if running, if being a mobile quarterback and making plays with your feet was one of your biggest attributes coming out into the draft. You got to look a little bit better and a little more prepared. I don't think I wouldn't feel good about taking the Niners to cover 9. Um, I like the Niners to win the game just because I think Seattle was riding high, playing against Russell Wilson. It was just kind of unique circumstances for the Seahawks last week, and Pete Carroll always gets his teams up for those games.
that's true.
But I think that they'll probably come crashing down to earth, and I think the Niners will win by a touchdown. But like I said, this hinges on Trey Lance being better than he was last week.
So I'm taking the Seahawks here.
You take him to win?
I'm taking on a win
Right
because
on, man.
I I know what Geno Smith is going to be week to week.
Sure.
And except for like they'll have the couple of like one random game that he's like terrible, and you're like, oh wait, yeah, Geno Smith. That's why he's not starting in the NFL. Trey Lance, until he shows me that he can be better, I can't bet on him. To be honest, especially without Kittle there. And that team just, I know what you mean about the weather, dude. Chicago is bad. Chicago's bad.
Not a good roster on paper.
Yeah, you gotta beat that team. The Seahawks they looked a lot better than I thought they would. I thought Geno looked in sync with those receivers.
He was accurate. He was in rhythm. It was clear why you saw he was such an early favorite to start over Drew Lock.
Yeah. We got the Bengals and the Cowboys. The Cowboys now have a very interesting now without Dak Prescott. Very interesting strategy of no quarterback and no receivers.
Take Bengals by 20. I don't know what the spread is, but I'd feel fine if it went up to that.
Ernest is gonna watch this later and get mad at me. I'm taking the Bengals to cover fucking 7 points on the Cowboys in this one.
Oh man, yeah. The thing is, the Bengals defense looked pretty good against Pittsburgh last week. The Bengals they were fine on defense. It was just Joe Burrow throwing 4 picks. So I don't think that I think that Micah Parsons is going to give Joe Burrow some fits, but Jamar Chase is going to eat Diggs alive, man. Those weapons are going to cook that Cowboys defense.
Yeah, the Bengals are gonna win this game, and the Cowboys don't have anything they can do on offense. To be honest, now
you don't feel good about that team at all.
I feel good about the Cowboys now. Texans, Broncos. Denver is favored by 10 points.
In Denver.
This isn't easy. I know Denver lost. Denver didn't look great. Obviously. I'm gonna take Denver to bounce back here. They got enough talented players, veteran players on that team that they know what they got to do this week.
I like the Broncos to cover that 10. I think they'll be fine.
Cardinals and Raiders at 425. I'm going to take Vegas in this. They're favored by 5.5.
I'll take the Raiders all day long.
Yeah, the 5.5. I guess I'll take them to cover. I can take them to cover 5.5. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a field goal game, but I don't have any good reason to feel good about the Cardinals right now.
No, and you'll hear me say this about the Packers later, but the Cardinals right now, they suck until they show me they don't suck.
All right, so I guess I'll just have you say that about the Packers right now. You got Packers Bears at 8:20 at night. Okay, now every year the NFL insists on putting the Bears in primetime games
against the Packers every year.
I don't want to watch the Packers and the Bears in primetime. The Bears aren't good.
It's they do this for the sake of that rivalry, I think, but it's every year. It's like we have the Bears and the Packers Thursday night, Monday night, or Sunday night. There's always, and it's always at Lambeau.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, well, I think the Packers probably win this game. I mean, this is do or die for the Packers already in week 2. If the Packers win this game, I don't think they're going to win it by the 10 that they've got.
Well, I told you that I don't like double-digit spreads.
Yeah.
I have a rule that I will never bet a double-digit spread in a divisional rivalry.
Oh, and I think that's probably smart here.
They're always different. Even if it's the Bears and the Packers are like supposed to be way better. It's always different. I've seen I've been a Patriots fan my whole life. I've seen so many bad Jets and Dolphins and Bills teams that cover spreads against amazing Patriots teams.
Yeah,
It's I've How many times has you seen the Bengals when they were the Bungles cover fucking spreads against the Steelers and the Ravens
yeah.
just
That's
because it
it's
was the division.
those games
I
up
can't,
north are always different.
I can't take I can't take a 10-point spread here.
No, and you can't take it after what you saw the Packers do last week. Like,
No, I can't. I didn't want to rip on the Packers.
no, I mean, I'll rip
With
on the Packers probably more
with
than anybody else will. It's just that, like
yeah,
I said,
yeah, you
they
will.
suck until they prove that they don't suck. Like, how do you come out and choose to not put Jair on Justin Jefferson? Jair got no work last Sunday because they wouldn't put him on Justin Jefferson. It's
Yeah,
it's
I don't.
it's inexplicable. I understand we have three good corners. We're probably top two or three cornerback groups in the league, but Justin Jefferson's a world beater. You got to put your top corner, who was an all pro last time he was healthy, you got to put him on Jefferson. And
Yeah,
so unless we get a Packers team who's actually hungry and ready to prove a point, I have not seen that since we've won the Super Bowl. Uh,
and
unless you see that team play with a
I
chip on their
my thing
shoulder,
for
they're not winning by 10.
and for the Packers offense, it's the first time that in Rodgers' entire career that he's had a reason to complain about his receiving core. But the problem is that he's the reason that he doesn't have a receiving core.
Well, you could say that, and then you could also go look at the tape against Minnesota, and after Watson dropped that 75-yard touchdown, he didn't throw to Watson the rest of the day, and he was open all fucking
Yep.
day.
Well,
Watson
he
was
gets
open all
fucking
day long. I'm sorry that your rookie dropped his first target, which would have been a 75-yard touchdown. Yes, that sucks, but you have no other option. You got to throw him the ball again because he looked like the best option in
yeah.
the
I mean
receiving
that
core last week.
you never
I
throw
will
the
say
ball again.
this.
You got to give him a chance.
I will say this. If Green Bay is willing to give their rookies a chance and keep them and start them in three wide sets with Lazard, that team is going to give people that receiving core is going to turn around a lot by November, December, and into January. If they keep giving these guys chances, they're going to grow. And the conversation then is going to be a lot different than the conversations now. But it's
Oh,
completely up to the quarterback to throw those guys the ball.
absolutely, 100%. Um, so we got the Monday night doubleheader, which I actually I like, but I don't like it when they do this. There's 7:15 and 8:30.
Oh, and it's a staggered, and you got to choose which game to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's stupid. Do that like 5:30 Monday night game that they were doing before. I love that.
Yeah.
I get home from work at like 4:15, 4:30. If I don't work late, I can. You're telling me that I can take a shower right after work, and all of a sudden there's a football game starting
Right.
with my post work joint. That's fucking incredible, dude.
Yeah.
Give me that start. 7:15 and then 8:30 and choosing what I want to watch. No. So we got the Titans and the Bills. Bills are favored by 10 here. I got to take the Bills. I don't love a 10-point spread. They'll probably win by around 10.
Yeah, that team's on fire, man. They're kind of dismantling whatever's in front of them, and I don't feel good about the Titans at all. Last week I chose the Giants over the Titans. That's another team like the Packers and the Cardinals where until they show me they don't suck, they kind of suck.
Yeah, I think the Titans aged fast. They've gone nothing but downhill since that run a couple of years ago.
Well, in
The line's not the same. Tannehill's not playing the same.
No, and I mean they lost AJ Brown, and AJ Brown just went for 150 yards last week,
Yep.
and Burks just isn't ready yet to be an NFL player, and I knew that he was going to have to take a year or two to get ready to play in the NFL, but I don't see any reason for the Bills to not load the box on Derrick Henry and say beat us on the perimeter, and good luck stopping us when we're on offense.
Yeah. And that's basically how I see this game going. The Vikings and the Eagles at 8:30, and now this one I would take the Vikings if this game was at 4:25, 4:05, or 1 o'clock. But sorry, it is Kirk Cousins in prime time.
Is it in Philly?
Yes, I believe it's in Philly.
Yeah, if it's in Philly, I'll take the Eagles all day long.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the Eagles. It's a 2.5 point spread. I might as well just take the spread because it's
A field goal.
it's a field goal.
I feel I feel good about the Eagles winning that game. I think that they're going to be able to stress the Vikings defense a little bit better than the Packers were. They're going to be able to block that defensive line a lot better than the Packers were because the Packers were without two All Pros on the offensive line, and the Eagles' offensive line is literally nothing but Pro Bowler, All Pro caliber players.
the offensive line
So
is filthy.
yeah, so you give me, I'll take Philly. I'd take Philly all the way up to -4.5.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go about as high as 4.5 myself. Um, so wrapping up the schedule there, I got to bring back terrible Twitter takes because, like I, the right man, Steve. Like I talked about before the show, man, the national media. Sometimes these people who get paid to cover the sport have no idea what they're talking about. So, Mr. Warren Sharp, aka Mr. Tyler Brickner, yes, Warren Sharp is a fake name, had a tweet on, it must have been last Sunday night, talking about this is why. Yes, it was in the Broncos and Seahawks game. It was talking about the Broncos play calling clock management at the end of the game. This is why coaches need to play Madden. It did follow up. Someone in the response replied with, "Yeah, they should make the being dead serious. They should have the coaches play Madden in interviews to show them that they can call plays and manage the clock." If you think that's the same thing as calling plays and managing the clock in an NFL game, you have a severe misunderstanding of how an NFL game goes.
Warren Sharp is the biggest fucking cuck loser on the planet who talks about sports. I think he's
I
the
fucking
biggest
hate him.
fucking moron alive. He thinks everything is all about analytics, and he steals other people's content and claims it as his own. Fuck that guy.
Yeah,
He is
fuck you, Tyler
he
Brickner.
is so stupid. It's unreal. And he's made so much money off of stealing other people's opinions and ideas, claiming it his own. And he works so hard on this book that he puts out every year before the season. Go fuck yourself.
Coaches need to play Madden. Fuck off. Like, come on. I'd love to see somebody. I'd love to see somebody imagine Robert Kraft walks up to Bill Belichick and says, "Listen, Bill, I think you need to play some Madden."
He adds that into his contract clause. Hey, I need you to put in about an hour a week on Madden.
Belichick be like, I'm done. Retiring. And then I had the Mr. Genius himself, Colin Cowherd. On Thursday night, Derwin James can definitely bench over 200 pounds.
He can bench over 200 pounds.
Yeah, that's what he said. Is that the 215-pound NFL safety can bench more than 200 pounds.
I myself am not a professional athlete. I can rep 225 about 12 times. And if Derwin James could not do the same, I think that I would verbally assault him.
Yeah, I mean, so when I was working out all the time, when I was in high school, junior year, I was weighing about 185 pounds. And I maxed out on bench about 215, 220. And believe it or not, I'm not a professional athlete. I didn't get any scholarships or anything. I know that's probably surprising to
I don't know, man. I can see the general lacing it up for a D3 school or something.
Yeah. So surprisingly, my grades, and my police record were kind of held me out of going. I also played for like a terrible program. So yeah, didn't go anywhere with my football career.
Well, only 1% did. So
yeah, Derwin James can obviously bench over 200 pounds. For one, like I said, if he couldn't, there would be a major issue there because he weighs 215 pounds. You should be able to bench your body weight.
let's pull up mock draftable. Did Derwin bench when he came out in the combine?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. They do reps of 225 at the combine. That was my next point.
Yeah, Derwin benched 225 21 times.
Wow. Okay. Yes. So thank you, Colin Cowherd.
Yep. That's funny.
He can bench more than 200. Like I can't believe that he thought like 200 pounds was like this high number, like to set like.
Well, that should tell you about where Colin's at in the gym.
If he was like, dude, Derwin James is definitely benching over 300, or like Derwin James is definitely benching 325. You're like, yeah, all right.
I mean, you probably tell me that Derwin's putting up 4 plates on each side and repping it out. So,
yeah, if you told me he like that Derwin James benched 325 pounds, I would not be surprised. Like for one rep, like that. If that expression, you did 225 for 21. Yeah, the dude, he could put up like 350 on bench.
Yeah, that slam on Kelsey was pretty fun to watch, though.
I'm assuming that's when he tweeted it out. I saw it in the morning, so
yeah.
I'm assuming that's like when he tweeted it out. It's like that was impressive. And I have to, since you brought it up, for all the Chiefs fans out there that like to say that Kelsey is better than Gronk, Gronk is never letting a safety do that to him.
Yeah, that
would
Gronk
never happen to Gronk.
Gronk is so impossible to tackle that Cam Chancellor had to break both of their backs to get him to the ground. So
yeah, but I don't think the people who say that Kelsey's better than Gronk didn't watch Gronk from 2011 to 2016.
Gronk's the greatest tight end who's ever lived, and I have no problem saying that.
Yeah, that's can't stand the guy now, honestly, but it's never been a better combination of blocking and receiving at the position.
No, most dominant in both aspects.
Yeah, he blocked like a starting left tackle, and was the best red zone threat in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all we got for you folks today. Don't forget this episode has been brought to you by creationsnack.com. Use code BCMG for 20% off your order. Joined by Dale Gribble today, the Packers fan. I'm sure I'll be having him on again this season. It was good having you on for the first time, buddy.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I look forward to next time.
Yeah. Anyways, folks, get your picks in, get your fantasy lineup set. That's pretty much what I have to do for the next hour. And we will see you next week.